One landlord explains why they were willing to pay $7,500 to get a tenant out of their property rather than go through the eviction process. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic for you today, and once again I am going to the comment section from my videos. Okay, I'm getting a couple of good landlord stories, and I just want to share them with all the people who maybe they didn't read all of the comments from the video. So I did a video recently about why some landlords are willing to pay money basically to get tenants up out of their properties, and I completely agree with it, because when you look at the overall cost of just going through the eviction process, especially in these states with very strong tenant protections, it can be tens of thousands of dollars, not including the amount of rent that you lost and any damages that the tenant did. So, I can't blame anybody for doing this. And if I ever was put in a situation where I could lose a significantly greater amount of money than the amount that I was paying them, well, yeah, I would do the exact same thing. So this is standard practice in places like New York and California. Okay, landlords, that is the way they get tenants out of these properties. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And I realize that most landlords, we work in the world of reality, not the world of what should be, but the way the world really is. And this is the way the world is. Yeah, it's unfair. It's unfair to us, but we got to do what we got to do. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So first of all, would you be willing to pay someone to leave your property? If you were unable to evict them, or if it was faster or much less expensive to do it. I know I asked this question before, but maybe you're watching this video, you didn't see my other videos on the topic, and I'm just curious to know what other people would do in this situation. I've had some people comment before that they wouldn't give a dime no matter what because it was the principle. Okay, so I'm just curious if you're one of those people, or if you're willing to pay, or if there's a limit to how much you're willing to pay. And the second thing is, I'm looking for more good landlord stories. I like hearing these stories from other landlords, what they're experiencing throughout the country, with bad tenants in particular, with evictions in particular. Just put it down in the comments section, or if you don't want to put it in the comments and you kind of want to remain a little bit more anonymous, send me an email at tony@northomahainvestments.com, and I will read it, and maybe I'll put it in a video for you. Okay, but anyway, let's get into this first comment that I have for you. And this comment is coming from my video from just a few days back. LA landlords are forced to pay rent control tenants $25,000 to leave rather than evict, right? And it's coming from a user, TidyCats151. Had a situation with a tenant, claimed you'll have to pay me to leave. Did some research and found he was $19,000 behind on child support. Made an offer of $7,500 payable upon return of keys. He agreed. I met him at the courthouse after confirming he'd moved and changed the locks, and handed him a receipt from the county clerk in front of said clerk. He wasn't pleased, but as there were 3 orders of garnishment in place, there was nothing he could do. The idiot kept yelling, "I wasn't going to declare that money, you b." They'd been looking for him for years. Even the clerk was stifling giggles. Warrant was served. He got free new housing at local jail. His baby mamas got a little cash while he was still behind to a criminal level. Sold the property the next day. Never rented to anyone again. Now, this is a pretty funny story, right? And the reason I wanted to bring this one up was because even though you did have to pay that $7,500, he didn't get to keep it. And instead, because he was so far behind on child support, that money went to the people that, the mothers of his children, or mother of his children, that he owed that money to. So guess what? You're put in a bad position. But not only that, because you're behind on child support, you're probably going to do a night in jail for missing those payments. That's something very common. I'm not a big fan of those laws, but in this situation, I feel like this person got what they deserve for being a scam artist and then cheating the landlord out of that money. So the landlord got their property back, didn't have to go through the eviction process, and sold the property the next day. Fortunately, I'm just glad that you're out of that situation. You didn't have to deal with this person anymore, and this person got a little taste of justice. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty good positive story. Much unlike a lot of the negative stories that I read all the time. Here's another comment. It says, this is from Yvonne Neoy 3124, and it says, I was willing to pay cash for keys to a tenant during COVID. She took the first offer, leave voluntarily. And it's a short one, right? But this is a good point right there. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there were a lot of places that had the eviction moratoriums, including the places where I live and invest. So these are places that are not traditionally known as being anti-landlord. Okay, they have stronger property rights than a lot of the places on the coast, right? But we were placed in the exact same position as the people on the coast in that we were unable to remove these tenants. So we had non-paying tenants who we had to pay the rent for. Essentially, we had to pay for them to remain housed. They knew that they didn't have to pay. They knew that they did not face any sort of problems due to eviction, and so a lot of them just chose not to pay. Fortunately, there were other alternatives in place. So landlords, they were saying, okay, we will pay people to leave, and this was during the pandemic, right? And some of the people took those offers and left. And, still, that was way, way cheaper because at the time, you had no clue when these eviction moratoriums were going to end, okay? If you said to yourself, oh, this whole thing will be over in a couple months, so then I'll go through and evict them. And then even here, the federal moratorium lasted over a year. So you realize that, hey, this is a disaster, an absolute nightmare. And they put all of us into this position where we were forced to make the decision, okay, are we going to pay these people to go? Or are we going to sit here and hope that maybe they will either leave on their own or the eviction moratoriums will end soon? That didn't happen for anybody. In some places it lasted like 3 years. So yeah, paying people to leave in that situation was the right call. Okay, so I also got a comment from another one of my videos, and this one was from the More Bad Landlords Explain Problems with Bad Tenants, right? And it says here, this one is from a user called THUSWT4U, and it says, we're currently being sued for over $20,000 for decreased housing service, even though we've already spent over $20,000 into renovations. Property was only purchased 4 years ago and have done a lot of updates since. Even so, tenants submitted false evidence of damages, such as old pictures. They even submitted a forged lease to claim illegal rent increase. The case is still ongoing, but I'm looking forward to the next hearing to show evidence of deceptions. Even if we won the case, there's still nothing we can do. Greedy people are taking advantage and abusing the system. And this is a very good point right here, okay? Tenants, they have every reason to try to scam the system. And there is very little repercussion for tenants for lying, for misleading, for just being complete scumbags. Okay, you go to the eviction court and they take their word for it. They immediately believe the landlord is rich and greedy, and that this is some poor suffering tenant in a lot of cases. Okay, and I hate seeing that. I absolutely hate seeing that because the fact that you are the landlord should not be the determining factor of whether this person oh, well, you're the landlord, you're rich, so because you own the property, they think instantly you're rich and you deserve to be this other person deserves to be allowed to stay for a bit longer. And it's like, no, you've got to go. You've got to get the heck up out of this place, because you know what? My livelihood is being threatened by you staying here and me having to pay your bills for you, because that's what this really comes down to. Okay? When they talk about, hey, we need to give the tenant more time, or, like, oh, we don't want to evict during the school year because of this or that, right? But what they're really saying is, you, the landlord, need to pay their rent for them. You need to subsidize their housing. It is, you are the social service provider. You are the homeless shelter. You personally, not the government. You. That is your job. Okay? That is what they're telling us. And I don't agree with that. I will never agree with that. I will always fight against that. But, I want to make it clear that this is what they are arguing for. When they want you to let people stay longer, when they want you to artificially subsidize rents to the point where you can't make money. In fact, you lose money every single month the tenant's up in there. That is what they're fighting for. They want you to be the social service provider. And I don't agree with it. Like I said before, if you have any good landlord stories that you want to share and, wouldn't mind seeing them on a video, go ahead and post them down into the comments section. And, I'm going to be making more videos like this as time goes by.